Thank you all for being here. We'd like to call to order on Tuesday, September 17th, the City Council regular session, at which point we are going to go through a few things. We're going to have first an invocation by Jim Johnson from First Baptist Church. And then if you'd all remain standing, we're going to have a presentation of the colors by Daniel Hersey from the Maricopa High School Junior ROTC Honor Guard, after which we will have a singing of the national anthem by Lil Contrera, who is a member of the American Legion Auxiliary. And then we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Bridger Kimball. And then the Honor Guard will exit and we will be seated. So we'll take it from there. If you'd all rise.
Let us pray. Our most heavenly Father, we come before you during this meeting. We pray that our city council and our mayor and vice mayor will have wisdom to make the decisions that are needed for this city to continue its growth. Lord God, we just pray for those that were injured in the Navy Yard shooting yesterday. And Lord God, we ask you to be with their families. And Lord God, we just pray that our military men and women, that you keep in your hand and guide them and protect them. Lord God, we thank you for this country. We thank you for the freedoms that we have that have been won and fought for by our military men and women throughout the ages. And Lord God, we will give you glory and honor. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Let's give all our participants there a big round of applause. Thank you. With that, let's move to item number 2, the roll call, please.
Here.
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 Present.
Here. Great. Well, as you can see by the many people that are here tonight, we have a lot going on. So we appreciate some patience, but at the same time, we have a lot of people we want to honor tonight. So if you look at the agenda, we have a variety of proclamations that we want to present different things to. So I'll call you up here individually and we'll do the proclamation. But let's start first here with item 3.1. This is a proclamation proclaiming the month of October as International Walk and Bike to School Month. We have the Optimist Club as well as Dr. Chestnut on this item. So if you guys would please come up, that would be wonderful. Okay. As you've noticed, some of these are for a few weeks down the road. The reason for that, as we talked about, is we have typically two meetings in the month of October for the City Council, but at this time we don't because we're moving to the new City Hall. So we're kind of accelerated a lot of proclamations into this week before we get here. This next one, I think we're going to have a nice large crowd come up. Is there some people here from maybe Maricopa High School that'd like to come up here? Come on up. How are you? Hi. Oh, great. How are you? Great. All right, good to see you. Come on up here. We've got mascots. How great is that? Uh-oh.
Are you good, Samantha? One more.
There you go.
Now stay.
That's great. I want to wear that one sometime.
You really don't.
Well, as you can see, we have Maricopa High School here, and obviously there's a homecoming every year, and we like to encourage a lot of people to attend this homecoming and really support our school system. So, where's Mary? There's Mary. Mary and I have been talking about how we can do a lot more cross-promotion between the City of Maricopa and the MUSD School District. And even though there's a lot of things we can't do, there are a lot of things we can. And we just figured that helping support in any way possible was one of the best things that we could do. So we wanted to give today a proclamation. Whereas Maricopa High School is showing their Ram Pride in honor of Homecoming 2013. And whereas community groups and individuals are showing support for our local schools by partnering with Maricopa High School, student organizations to promote school spirit. And whereas by showing pride in our schools, we are showing pride in our students and their teachers and encouraging them to excel in the classroom and in their community. And whereas local businesses will compete with each other to show the most school spirit during what we are terming Paint the Town Red Week by creatively decorating their businesses. And whereas homecoming is a time to reflect on hometown memories and bring the community together to make new memories with a safe, school-themed, spirited fun. And now, therefore, I, Christian Price, Mayor of the City of Maricopa, do hereby proclaim October 14th through October 18th, 2013 as Paint the Town Red Week. And we'd also like to declare it on the 18th as Ram Pride Day. And call upon all of you, our citizens of Maricopa, to show Ram Pride by decorating their homes and businesses in our school colors and supporting our students, teachers, and school faculty. Let's give them a round of applause. There you are.
Okay, before we leave, there's just a few things that I want to remind everyone. I want to thank the board and Mary so much for making this happen. We are so happy that our school and our week can finally become more of a community event than just a high school event. The homecoming week, the homecoming week 17th, we have a Powder Puff football game, which is going to raise money for breast cancer. But also during this Powder Puff football game, at halftime, we're going to have a community pep rally to get everyone really excited for homecoming and to bring back some alumni and show our new Maricopa freshmen this year just everything we want to do, we want to bring in that day. So if you guys want to bring your families out, come support breast cancer and Maricopa all at the same time, that would be great. Friday is big homecoming day, October 18th. We will be having a school-wide pep rally. Then following that, we are going to have a community carnival. So you can bring out your little ones, bring out your elementary kids, bring out your junior high kids, all you want. We want all of Maricopa to come and just have fun at this big, giant carnival that we have for you guys. And after that, we're going to have the game, so everyone can then go from the carnival to the game. It'll be a great, good time. I can't wait to see you all guys there, and I'm so happy that we finally have this done. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Woo. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Sweet.
Mayor Price.
Yes. Oh.
And Dr. Chestnut can't be homecoming to wear during our school events. Well, you can wear it now, but you can wear it now for the picture. It goes around your arm.
Oh, great.
Yeah, Dennis, if you want to use
That's
it.
all right.
You can take it off for the rest of the meeting.
Yeah. Would you like it? Hold on, don't go anywhere. Stay right here. Okay, give me your best. Oh yeah, we want this too. You want that? You want to hold that? Here we go. Thank you very much. At this time, we'd like Chief Stahl to come up, please. That's right. You can't have my armband. No, you can't have it. I'll have to arm wrestle you for it later. I know. All right, this time we're going to talk about Child Passenger Safety Week. You probably saw, if you have children in school, you probably saw some of the officers in your school area earlier today. Whereas children are our future, and as parents and caregivers, it is our responsibility to keep America's children safe. Every day in 2010, an average of 2 children, 12 and younger, were killed, and 325 were injured in motor vehicle traffic crashes as occupants of passenger vehicles. For children 1 to 13, it is the leading cause of death. It's hard to overstate the toll that this takes on families, but together we can help put an end to this tragedy. Today, in all 50 states, the District of Columbia and our territories require the use of car seats for children traveling in motor vehicles. These laws were enacted because they save lives and prevent injuries. Research shows that car seats reduce the risk of fatal injuries by 71% for children younger than 1 and by 54% for children 1 to 4 years old in passenger cars. We know car seats help save lives and reduce injuries. We also know that they are the most effective when installed and used correctly. Starting now, we must work together to prevent these deaths and injuries. That is why the City of Maricopa, Arizona is committed to working closely with our partners and safety advocates to help you make the kind of choices that will keep your kids alive and safe. Our goal is to educate parents and caregivers about the best practice when traveling with children from birth through age 12. During Child Passenger Safety Week, hundreds of free car seat inspection stations will be set up across the country. I encourage all parents and caregivers to take advantage of this service and ensure that their children are getting the very best protection and are in the right seat for their age and size. So now, therefore, I, Christian Price, Mayor of the City of Maricopa, do hereby proclaim September 15th through the 21st as Child Passenger Safety Week and urge everyone to help reduce these injuries and the tragic loss of life by buckling themselves and their children up every trip, every time. Thank you very much. Thank you. And last but not least, in the proclamation side, is Paula here? Paula, come on up. I'm going to jingle for you here. We have a proclamation on the Maricopa Arts and Humanities Month, and so we want to present this to Paula Pavlovich. Pavlovsky, okay, that was close. All right. Whereas in the arts and humanities are the embodiment of all things beautiful and entertaining in the world, the enduring record of human achievement, and whereas the arts and humanities enhance every aspect of life in Maricopa, improving our economy, enriching our lives, driving tourism, and exerting a profound positive influence on the education of our children, and whereas arts education research shows that the arts help to foster discipline, creativity, imagination, self-expression, and problem-solving skills, while also helping to develop a heightened appreciation of beauty and cross-cultural understanding. And whereas we use the humanities, history, literature, philosophy, to explore what it means to be human. And whereas the arts and humanities play a unique and intrinsically valuable role in the lives of our families and our communities and our state. And whereas the month of October has been recognized as National Arts and Humanities Month by thousands of arts and cultural organizations, communities, and states across the country, as well as by the White House, Congress, and for more than 2 decades now. Now therefore, I, Christian Price, Mayor of the City of Maricopa, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2013 as Maricopa Arts and Humanities Month and call upon all citizens of Maricopa to explore, celebrate, and participate in the arts and culture of Maricopa. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. You want a picture? Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we're going to have Paul come up and we're going to present something we like to call Operation Welcome Home.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, tonight we are offering one of our Maricopa Operation Welcome Home events. Operation Welcome Home is a way that we publicly recognize and honor returning service members and their families who are members who are coming back from deployment. Tonight, we are going to honor Sergeant First Class Stephen Rice. Sergeant Rice, if you want to come up to the podium. Sergeant Rice is a full-time active duty member of the Arizona National Guard who has just returned home to Maricopa from deployment from Afghanistan. And Councilwoman Gussie is going to say a few words.
Sergeant First Class Stephen Rice was born in Bossier City, Louisiana in 1970 and remained in the area until he joined the Louisiana National Guard at the age of 18. He joined the Guard to be involved in disaster relief efforts. He wanted to be able to help people in their time of need. Stephen and Robin, which Miss Robin didn't want to come up here, met in 1991, just before he was activated to fight in Operation Desert Storm. They dated a short time before his deployment, communicated often while he was in Saudi Arabia, and continued dating when he returned home. Robin says that Stephen was home in time to take her to her senior prom, so this is some time back. They were married in 1995. Stephen and Robin Rice have 2 children. Joseph Rice, that unfortunately, well, fortunately for him, he's at a baseball game right now, so he wasn't able to join Dad today. He's 12 years old. He attends Maricopa Wells Middle School. Allison Rice, hello, Allison. She's 7 years old, and she goes to Butterfield Elementary. They are both very proud of their daddy. Currently, Robin teaches at Maricopa Wells Middle School in the MUSD 20+1 STEAM program. The Rices moved to Arizona in 1994, while Sergeant Rice has been a part of the Arizona National Guard. They moved to Maricopa in 2005 in search of a bigger home. Sergeant Rice has participated in 3 deployments: Operation Desert Storm in 1991, Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2003 to 2004, and Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan from 2012 to 2013. He has also provided disaster cleanup in Honduras, support for airport security after 9/11, and worked on projects in Alaska and Germany. When asked what makes her husband special, Mrs. Rice, Robin, says that Stephen is loyal and dedicated. He is a true soldier, sacrificed for the good of others. He is an amazing husband and father, and we are all very proud of him. So today, Sergeant First Class Stephen Rice, welcome home.
Sergeant Rice, at this time, we'd like to present you with this plaque that just says "Welcome Home" from the City of Maricopa. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
This is where the PIO bosses you around to get pictures.
Great.
Yes. commander of the American Legion wanted to present, and our auxiliary members wanted to present an award to one of our teachers here at Maricopa High School. And if the ROTC wouldn't mind coming up here?
First of all, we just say thank you for everything you've done for the community and us veterans here. I am Christopher Flores. I'm the commander of the American Legion out here in Post 133. And on behalf of the American Legion, I'd just like to say thank you for all the hard work you've done. What we like to do is we like to honor a veteran teacher who not only served his country, but also continues to serve his country, teaching the youth. That's very big in the American Legion, and that's one of our pillars, and we definitely like to move forward in the tradition. And this goes out to your head person, James Alonzo. I know he's not here tonight, but I'd like to present it to the leader of the ROTC to take it on behalf of the American Legion and the American Legion Auxiliary.
Thank you all very much for participating in those events thus far this evening. We really appreciate it. We encourage you all to really stay for the real fun, but thank you again for being here, and we appreciate all that each of you do to make the city of Maricopa a better place. At this time, we will move into item 4, and that would be the report from the mayor. Just want to have a couple of quick announcements, and that those of you who are not aware, there is going to be a Kids Day this weekend. It will be held on Saturday, and it's from 10 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I believe it's at the Maricopa Wells Middle School, the police and fire, and it's a great event to bring your kids to. It's entirely free. A lot of work and effort goes into it. A lot of private parties spend a lot of their days and a lot of their time and a lot of their efforts and money to put this together. So if you get the chance, take your kids, go see what is going on there, and I think you'll have a really good time. The last thing that I have to announce is that, as you've obviously noticed, that this is our last council meeting here in this particular venue. The City Hall has an open house. Today was the first day of operations in the new City Hall. If you haven't had a chance to go see it, I really encourage you to do so. It's a very nice structure, a wonderful facility for this city. So, 50, 100 years out, it's something I think we can really be proud of. I know that city staff is very excited about it, and we hope that you'll each take a turn on Thursday of this week. Come by from noon to 8 p.m. Bring your kids, your scouts, anybody else you can think of, and come take a tour of it. It's 100% free, and we're going to have little giveaways and treats and different things so to entice you to come see it. But I think you'll be really proud of it, and a place to call home here in Maricopa. So that's all I have for the report from the mayor, but I believe Councilwoman Chapados had something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you to our city manager and our staff and all of our volunteers that helped make the move so pain-free and user-friendly. That was a huge undertaking. There's been a lot of people that have put in all-nighters, all-weekenders, and I just want to say it is very much appreciated. And please come out Thursday and see your new City Hall. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move to item 5, the report from the city manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce Jennifer Campbell. She has a couple of announcements. I'd like to introduce Jennifer Campbell, Parks and Rec Director. She has a couple of announcements.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. First, I would like to make a new introduction. We do have a new staff member to the community services staff and the Maricopa family. I'd like to introduce Audra Trudell. Audra, please stand. Audra is our new Special Events and Marketing Manager. Audra comes to us with a bachelor's degree in journalism and business communications. She also comes to us with 16 years experience in marketing and special events. She's enthusiastic, energetic, and she is ready to take Maricopa's events to a new level. So welcome aboard, Audra. We're very happy to have you. And maybe good news for all of you, this is the last time I'll be talking about events, since Audra can do it next time. I offered to let her do it. She says, now I'll let you do it one more time. So first, just really wanted to, again, remind you we have Stagecoach Days coming up. That is October 19th at Pecana Park from 4 to 9. We've got a community football game, chili cook-off, inflatables, rock climbing wall, mechanical bull, and laser tag, and a petting zoo for the little ones. We've got community performances on stage from some of our local talent here in Maricopa. We'll also have the digital photo contest as well. We've got Desert Dixie performing from 7 to 9. That's our band that's coming out as well. We've got food vendors, business vendors, and nonprofits. We are still looking for business vendors, nonprofits, as well as sponsors. And also, you can visit our wonderful website that we have here, and you can find out about entertainment, becoming a vendor, becoming a sponsor. We also need volunteers as well. So this is a great website to visit so that you can see everything we've got going on, as well as there are so many events leading up to and following our great anniversary of Maricopa on October 15th, our official anniversary. So we have about 2 weeks chock full of events, and we want to thank all of our community groups that have really stepped up to do that. So again, there'll be a great schedule on the website. You can check out everything Maricopa has to offer for Stagecoach Days. Also, just wanted to update you on our sponsors. We currently have $7,900 in sponsorship right now. We landed Orbital as our title sponsor for $5,000. They're doing a $2,000 cash, as well as about another $3,000 in airtime spots, text messages, emails, commercials, so we're very thankful for Orbital. Also, our Giddy Up sponsor, which is Wells Fargo, we will have Stagecoach rides, because what is Stagecoach without Stagecoach rides? So that's about $2,400, and we have our Buckaroo sponsor, which is State Farm, which is $500 for the kids' inflatable. So we're very excited, but we are definitely still looking for sponsors. So if you are interested, please visit the website, and now you can call Audra. One other thing we have coming up is our Mystery Mansion Mayhem. That is the house decorating contest for all of the residents here in Maricopa. You can register for decorating your house from October 1st to the 16th. The judging will happen on Monday, October 28th, and I do know we've got some PRL members going out again to judge. And then winners will be announced on October 29th, which is right before Halloween. And again, prizes are given to some of the best and scariest houses. And I went last year, and let me tell you, there's a lot of work that the Maricopa residents put in. So if you're looking for a frightful good time, come out and look at the houses. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
A couple of announcements. Rick, you want to stand up? Rick Clore is now our interim HR director. He comes to us from Maricopa Police Department, so I wanted to thank Rick for stepping up and doing that. I'm on a roll now. And then I would like to introduce Mr. Brady Leffler, who is going to be our interim fire chief. His contract is on the agenda tonight for approval by the council, so thank you. And then finally, the mayor mentioned our open house this Thursday. In case you don't know where we're actually situated right now, we're on White Parker between Honeycutt and Boland Roads. It's the only huge building out there. You can't miss it. We're in the middle of a field. Thank you very much, and come on out on Thursday. We're looking forward to seeing you. With that, I'm finished, Mayor, Council.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, with all those events going on, I don't ever want to hear someone say there's nothing to do in Maricopa, ever again, ever. Well, with that, let's move on to item 6, the call to the public. This is a time in which you have the opportunity to approach the council. Just so you know that the council at this time doesn't typically respond to anything at this moment, but we do appreciate hearing from you and want you to come forward and talk to us. So with that, let me actually call Richard Hall up. I have a speaker card for him. Richard, if you'd be so kind as to come up and speak first to us, and then anyone else who would like to speak, just proceed in an orderly fashion.
Good evening, everyone. I'm coming here tonight on behalf of what we call the Crisis Center here in Maricopa. And what we do is we set this committee up here about a month and a half ago. And what we're trying to do is interdiction and help the American vets. The ones that just come home, the ones that, excuse me, the ones that just got back, the ones that need help, families that need food, families that need direction, fuel. We're trying to help what we can do. There's a little over 4,000 vets right here in this area, and we have not touched 2% of them. You know this, I know this, and they're all around. And we are putting flyers out right now, and I didn't have enough to pass around, but if you want some, you can get some. My partner in crime that, pardon me, Chief. My partner on this is Chris Flores. Chris spoke a little while back, and we're trying to get this going real good, and talking with the chief. We still got a couple meetings we got to get with him after the 1st of October to get everything really solidified and on board. But there's people in your neighborhood, there's families that need help. They just need to see your heart and your eyes go out to them, and they need it. They need it bad. And it's not an everyday walk of life, it's just the way they are. And if you see something, alert somebody, talk to them. The best thing a vet can do is walk up and talk to another vet, because they know what's going on. And with that, I do appreciate it if you guys would. You'll see these posters around town. Take a look at them. Anybody can call us 24/7. We hope you don't mind me saying this, Chief, we did start out on a real bad bang, because the first real incident we had was a veteran suicide. And that's tough. That's tough. And it's going to happen somewhere every 16 minutes in the United States. And we don't want it here. With that, City Council, I thank you very much for letting me come up.
Thank you very much, Richard. Dr. Jessamine, we will make sure that these get to the city clerk here, and we'll have copies at City Hall, so if anyone needs that number, we'll be sure to have them there. So, thank you. Dr. Jessamine.
Mayor Price, members of the council, just want to formally say we have greatly appreciated having you in our facility for your meetings, and it's been our pleasure to have you. And we will miss you, but we wish you great success in your new facility, and I know you're looking forward to that. So thank you for being good partners with us and sharing this space. I also want to thank you for the proclamation for Homecoming Week. That's a very great partnership. And while I was here, I want to just bring up to date on a few news items with the Maricopa Unified School District. We're very proud of the fact that we regained our B rating as a school district this year. We temporarily, thank you. Thank you. We temporarily lost that for a year. We've been a B district before. It's nice to get that rating back, and it is our new goal to be an A district, and we're going to be working hard on that. But a lot of good work being done by our staff, our students, and our parents to make that a reality. Also, as part of that, 4 schools raised their letter grade, and Pima Butte continued the streak of 4 years in a row as an A school, so we're very, very proud of those efforts. Also wanted to just bring up to speed on charter schools. As you know, we went through the process of converting 6 of our current schools, 6 of our 9, to charters, and we were informed by the Arizona Department of Education that that process has been successful and has been approved. This year is really a planning year. There won't be any difference at all that parents or students will notice this year. However, next year, each school will have a unique academic focus, and the principals are in the process right now of leading that those meetings with parents and staff and coming up with that academic focus for their school. We think it will raise academic standards at each school. We're looking forward to that, and we're asking all 9 schools to go through the same process. Even though 3 are not allowed by law to be charter schools, the law requires a maximum of 6, 1 at each level, to be traditional format. They will still be going through that same academic focus discussion, and I think this will be a great process at each of our 9 schools. Then finally, I just wanted to say that we started a meeting with Tricia Sorensen, city manager, and staff formally, and we had our first formal monthly meeting You know, the past year, we had a lot of individual meetings, not so many formal meetings that were regularly scheduled, and this is a good format, and we'll be having a second one coming up next month. So looking forward to those meetings continuing and that partnership growing. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chestnut. Gina.
Good evening. My name is Gina Diabella, and I am the Western Region Leader for the Pinnell Partnership Open Space and Trails Committee. And this year, we are sponsoring a special event. It's our first year to sponsor a National Public Lands Day. It's actually in its 20-year anniversary, but it's our first year to sponsor it. And we're sponsoring with 2 event days and 4 exciting and fun activities. National Public Lands Day historically is on September 28th, which we will have activities, and as well on September 29th. On September 28th, Saturday at 9:30 a.m. at the Maricopa Public Library, Wildman Phil is going to come down with his desert critters and educate our populace about the reptiles and different critters that are in our Sonoran Desert here locally. It's a fun, interactive process with children and adults alike. And on Sunday, September 29th, we have 3 activities. One is a mountain hike. A lot of times people move to our beautiful city and they don't know where to go hiking. So we're going to help with that. We've come up with a nice moderate skilled loop that is just west of the city. We also have a desert bike for people who like to do mountain biking, which is also at a moderate skill level. And then finally, we have, for people who may not like to hike or bike, we have a desert walkabout with desert ecologist Cindy Rule, and she's going to talk about the medicinal and edible plants of the Sonoran Desert. So it'll be fun. Registration's at 7:30 at Raceway Bar and Grill. And for more information, you can contact me. I have the event listed on most of the local websites. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm here to invite, to share, and remind everyone it's Kids Day Maricopa this Saturday, September 21st at Maricopa Wells Middle School from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Our focus is on health, safety, and environmental awareness. We have a fun, interactive, educational day for our little ones. These programs include the Maricopa Fire Safety House, water safety with Southwest Ambulance, our Maricopa K9. There's also free dental, pony rides, petting zoos, fingerprint, laser tag, model airplanes, and of course, free food, free drink, and fun for everyone. There will be tons of giveaways, as well as a special appearance by Boo Boo Stewart, our young man from Twilight and the new X-Men movie. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. We'll see you on September 21st. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Call the public. Okay. Seeing no one, go ahead and close call to the public. Move on to item 7, the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve items 7.1 and 7.2? Have a motion? Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we have a public hearing. Item 8.1, the Mayor and City Council shall hear a public comment on a request by CSA, Christian Services Association, or DBA XP Ministries, a nonprofit 501c3, for review and approval of an application to rezone 2 parcels equaling plus 0.49 acres from general rural to general business, and that's CB2 zoning. If you'd like to discuss or have something to say on this item and this item only, you may approach the podium at this time. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, and we'll move to the consent agenda. At this time, may I have a motion to approve consent, please? Yes. Yeah, 9-9 was pulled originally, so this is consent agenda without 9-9. So we have a motion to approve. Is that still acceptable? Okay, I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that takes us to the regular agenda. At this time, we'll talk about item 9.9 at this moment. We don't have an official presentation of any kind. I just wanted to let the council be aware of that we had a concern with a constituent yesterday, and so we wanted to make sure that we took the time to close the loop and just kind of give the general public some understanding of what we're trying to accomplish here. As you'll remember, and maybe you read in the newspaper or saw somewhere on Facebook or whatever, one of the things that recently transpired with our neighbors is the Ak-Chin Indian community was gracious enough to be a regional partner and a real helpmate and player in this area. And in so doing, they were able to work out a deal in which they were to give $2.6 million to our MUSD school system. They also were able to, out of the kindness of their hearts, give us, the city of Maricopa, $7.4 million that we would be able to use towards the operation of our multi-gen complex, or the Copper Sky Regional Complex. That includes a multi-gen center, an aquatic center, and generally a 140-acre park, skate park, dog park, fishing lake, etc. This is a real great thing because with it, it really takes the burden off the general fund, and that allows us as a city to focus in other areas that so desperately need every penny and every resource. And so what the council decided that we wanted to do was to give some sort of thank you back to Ak-Chin. And so in so doing, what we did was we basically, and you'll see this titled as an MOU, which is layman's terms, a memorandum of understanding. And in that memorandum of understanding, it basically says that we would like to give the Ak-Chin 2,000 memberships for their usage. Now, they have about 1,000 members of the tribe, and so we'd like to give them 1,000 memberships for their usage. And with that, we're going to also give them quarterly reports. And in these quarterly reports, it basically states exactly how their money is being used, so that we have a complete transparency to the general public as well as to Ak-Chin. This is public information and can be gotten at any time by anybody in the audience. And so this is what the MOU is, and we just wanted to close the loop and let you know that from that initial rollout, this is the finality of it, and this is what is making it happen officially. So with that, is there any further discussion on this topic or item? Seeing none, I would accept a motion to approve item 9.9.
Mr. Mayor, move
Yes.
to approve 9.9.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That moves us to item 10.1. Going to possibly take action on appointing one citizen to fill the vacancy on the Transportation Advisory Committee. This is for discussion and action, and I believe this appointment applies to Councilman Potter.
Mayor, first I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Jessica Hooper, who was in the position of the Transportation Advisory Committee for the past year or so, and she was unable to complete her term, but I wanted to thank her for volunteering and looking around the room of a lot of active volunteers, sports coaches, the school district, and your capacity. Thank you for all you do, and every moment that you take the time to volunteer is very appreciated. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask Mr. Glenn Chern to be acknowledged. He is my nominee for the position of Transportation Advisory Committee member.
Great. Thank you, Glenn. The council has had the opportunity to see your resume and your application, and so with that, I would accept a motion to approve, if there is one.
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it. Okay, item 10.2. You'll notice on the agenda tonight we have several ordinances that we need to discuss, and we'll take them one by one, but we will be moving to a roll call vote on each ordinance. At this time, the ordinance of the Mayor and City Council in the City of Maricopa, Arizona, rezoning certain properties described in zoning case ZON 13-01 for approximately 0.49 acres, generally situated south from the southeast corner of Hathaway Avenue and Justin Drive. More specifically, property address 19997 and 20,031 North Justin Drive. The parcels of land are situated in a portion of Section 21 of Township 4 South, Range 3 east of the Gila and Salt River Base and Meridian, Pinal County, Arizona. This item is for discussion and action. Kazi.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Member of Council. At the request of the applicant, this case has been postponed until January, late January or maybe early February. I mean, they have some financial concern, so they are requesting the council to continue it until then to take action on this.
So to be clear, they're requesting it to be tabled at this time, is
Yes,
that correct?
yes, sir.
Until further notice?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And although as state requires us to hold a public hearing, we did that, you did that. So if anybody has any kind of comments or questions, city staff will be glad to take that anytime. Until then, when it case comes back to you again for action.
Okay. Council, does anyone have a problem with tabling the motion at this time? If not, can I have a motion to table ordinance 13-07 at this time? Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kazi. Item 10.3 is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Maricopa adopting revisions to Maricopa's nonprofit funding program. This is for discussion and action. I believe Mary will be helping us along here. Thanks, Mary.
Mayor, members of the council, I come before you tonight to present the proposed changes to the Maricopa Nonprofit Funding Program and request a resolution adopting these changes. So tonight's goal, I'm going to go briefly over the history of the changes, review some unchanged components for the Maricopa Nonprofit Funding Program, discuss the proposed changes from the council task force meetings, such as the scoring and non-responsive applications, and then we move into the resolution and adopting the changes formally for the fiscal year 14, 15, and beyond. So a little bit of the history. When awarding the fiscal year 13 and 14 applications, the discussion of potential changes came up. On July 16th, City Council, we presented during a work session potential changes to this program, and at that time, a task force was created during the regular meeting. The task force members consisted of yourself, Mayor Price, and council members Chapados and Potter. The council task force met on July 30th and August 19th to discuss the changes. When the task force met, all of the aspects of the program were up for discussion. Some of them remained unchanged, and some were recommended for changes. The following items with the nonprofit funding program were recommended to remain the same. The requests for proposals will still be released in December of each year, and the estimated funding level as previously determined will continue by the mayor and council. This happens initially through the Budget, Finance, and Operations Subcommittee, with the final funding level recommendation made during the annual budget retreat and the city's annual budget process. The mayor and city council may set up to 1% side of 1% of the total operating budget. However, council will continue to reserve the right to discontinue, continue, or reduce the funding level based on the availability of funds. And the final one is that the mayor and city council will continue to have the final approval of all awards. With that, I'll move into the proposed program changes. Through the council task force, the following changes are being brought forward. Applicants, when they submit an application, must attend a grant writing workshop and provide a certificate. Requests for applications may not exceed $25,000. Only one application may be presented by each organization. Applicants may receive funding through the nonprofit funding program for 3 consecutive years. After those 3 consecutive years, they must have 1 year off before they may be considered to apply again. The question comes up with this: does the 3 years off begin with the fiscal year 14 and 15 starting as a new program? We do have 3 agencies that have received 3 consecutive years of funding from the previous program, so this would be considered a new program with adopting the new changes. So going forward, it would mean those agencies would start again, considered that the 14-15 year would be the first year. This is up for discussion if you wanted to go in a different direction and grandfather those in or not grandfather those 3 agencies in. Additional changes is the questions with the grant application have been changed to align more closely with the scoring criteria, with the addition of asking upfront if an agency is willing to accept partial funding. The application has been extended to 7 pages. If an awarded agency decides not to accept the funds may be reallocated to the next agency on the list. The mid-year presentations are expected to be more clear and concise, and a pre-bid meeting will be held with the release for proposals going through all the guidelines with the agencies. So the proposed scoring process was probably one of the most lengthy discussions during the task force. Through this process, the following changes were discussed with the creation of a citizen evaluation team. It will be part of the city's internal grant evaluation process, similar to that of the procurement method that the city uses. It will consist, it's been recommended, of 7 members through an application process. The application process would begin prior to the release of requests for proposals, so the evaluation team would be in place prior to accepting applications. The evaluation team members may not be from an organization that is submitting an application. They will be required to sign a conflict of interest and a waiver form, and the citizen evaluation team will be chosen by designated city staff that may include the city manager, the grants manager, and the purchasing manager. Once the evaluation team is chosen, they will be serving for 1 grant cycle and will be trained on the scoring process. After the proposals are distributed, there will be a consensus meeting back with the evaluation team to come to a consensus with the final scores to present to the mayor and council. Similar to other granting agency, once the RFP process is closed, a summary of those consensus meetings will be available to the agencies that weren't awarded funds for some feedback regarding their application. With that, the scoring criteria was set forth for the application to be considered at a total of 1,100 points possible. The following areas will be considered in scoring it: the project description and community need, their goals, objectives, and performance measures, strategies and implementation plan, organizational capacity, their resources and budget, and their ability to sustain the program, coordination and collaboration with other community agencies, and finally, the technical review. And in this section is where we look at, did they follow instructions, did they exceed 7-page length, did they submit all of the information requested through the questions, and were they concise in their answers? And the last component is non-responsive applications. When applications are submitted, they will be given a checklist through the release, and the following items must be included in the application when they submit it, or the application will not be considered for funding. Their IRS determination letter, proof of liability insurance, they must have a signed offer and page and amendments, a W-9, a grant workshop certificate, and the proposal and budget. Again, no late applications will be accepted. And a new component, if they are a previous applicant to the nonprofit funding program and they have just completed a cycle, they may not have more than 1 late quarterly report. If during that cycle they have a late quarterly report more than once, they'll be excluded from consideration for funding for 1 year. So with that, we move into discussions, questions, and possibly passing a resolution.
Yes, Councilwoman Gussie.
I just had a question for the council members that were on this committee. What was the logic behind starting the clock at the next fiscal year for the 3 years?
Well, I think because we've made so many revisions and there's new rules and it's going to affect not only who can apply, but the amounts that they can fund, I'm of the opinion that the cycle starts with this next budget, and that if they've currently received funding in multiple years, it shouldn't be held against them.
So I guess I'm trying to follow your line of questioning. I mean, that was my thought too, was that if we're starting a new program and we're having a new set of rules based on there's no reason to penalize anyone who has submitted up to this point because they were applying under the rules that existed at the time. So at this point, it would be, this is the new program, these are the new rules. So if anybody has applied and received awards for the past 5 years, let's say, then they could continue on in the potential being awarded for the next 3, theoretically. But that ultimately, this is going to come down. Remember, the idea behind this was to make this much less subjective. You know, it was so subjective under the previous way of doing it because it was, you know, it got political too easily. So this way, it was trying to make it more like the application process that we would do an RFP for, where you actually have a set of standards and guidelines, and then with that, you would be scored accordingly, and then ultimately council would have the final say whether to go with that or not. But again, the idea being is that it's not being held against anybody, and then that starts the new 3-year clock.
Well, the reason I asked that question because this isn't a new program. Realistically, it's been around for a couple of years, nonprofit funding. And the biggest issue that I got from those that weren't awarded funds this last cycle was it doesn't, let's equal the playing grounds. It's not fair to them that organizations that have been continue to be funded, that they start off, and they feel that they're being penalized too at the same time because they feel that they haven't proven to this council or to this city that they could do a good job with the funding for the nonprofits. But yet we continue to fund those that we've already funded the previous years. So that's why when we came together the last work session, that was one of the biggest concern, is making sure that the clock started when because realistically it's not a new program. I know we're changing the rules here, and that's how the logic behind this being new, but at the same time, it's not a new program. They've already been funded for a few organizations have been funded for those 3 years already.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman
point of
Potter.
clarification for Mary. Is there points taking away or subtracted from the grade for applying or being approved for funding in prior years that would count toward this fiscal year?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Potter, that actually was not discussed during the task force. I apologize.
Yes, Councilman Chapados.
One of the things I think it's important to realize is that when we started looking at what other cities are doing, a lot of cities across the valley are reducing and eventually eliminating funding their nonprofits. I think it speaks well of us that we were innovative enough to start this program. It's had some ups and downs, and that's one of the reasons I think that we decided to take a closer look at it. But we're still, I mean, I know I share the opinion with my fellow council members from the task force that this is still an important component for our quality of life in the city, and I think it speaks well of us that we're still willing to do this. I also think that we've taken a huge step forward in being able to equalize that playing field. The other thing I think that's important is that council is now removed from the scoring process. We're going to have a citizen-based evaluation team. Obviously, council will take their recommendations, and we have the final say as to who gets the money and how much and that, but I think turning this over to the other people that are either in that same boat or can relate to some of the services and products that are provided by our nonprofits is a huge step forward for us. I think it's very empowering, and I think it's going to help our community as a whole. One of the things that we talked about is just what are the resources in Maricopa? Even since I've been on council, we've had at least a dozen new agencies and or projects or activities that have been announced. So I think it's important as we go forward to encourage people to participate, but I think it's also equally important for the citizens to realize that this money is being invested in Maricopa. It's helping Maricopa residents.
So I guess I would ask the council, are there additional questions or concerns at this point? And then let's come back and address Councilwoman Gussie's concern at this point. Was there anything else that we had questions or concerns over on the program that Mary has just run through? Yes, Councilmember Kimball.
One question for Mary. And so the cap this time, well, the proposed cap is $25,000 per application, right?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kimball, yes.
Okay, so how many of the ones that were awarded this last time were awarded more than 25,000, if you remember off the top of your head?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kimball, all of them but 2. So we had 7 awards, so 5.
And of those, a lot of questions, but of those, how many were multiple years?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kimball, 3 will hit the 3 consecutive years.
So that being said, to go back to what Councilwoman Gussie had said, those nonprofits might not even apply, seeing as though the cap is at 25,000, and so that might be a moot point at that juncture. It's just a comment there. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Mary, how long has this program existed in the city of Maricopa?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Farrell, it began in fiscal year 10-11. So 3 years, this will be our 4th year funding,
This will be
sir.
our 4th year?
So, again, back to Councilman Gussie, I don't want to discredit it all. In fact, we talked about that because you had mentioned that very specifically in the work session. And so it was something that was brought up very specifically in the task force. And I think that the thought process was both comparing ourselves against other cities and very much doing what Councilmember Kimball just said, is that if you're lowering that threshold to something, we're going to have to know in the beginning, are they willing to participate and realize that they're only going to get a smaller group of funding versus taking it all? Because I know I've heard the same concern many a times of, hey, we were a smaller group and we asked for less, and so we never got an opportunity. We felt like we were boxed out. And so the idea behind this was literally to create the great equalizer and see if through the standards and these measures, giving a scoring system, that ultimately it would create a level playing field for everybody involved. And again, to Councilmember Kimball's point, is that some of those that are larger organizations perhaps, might ask for the 25, but then again, they might not, just based on the fact that, in the past, we've even seen them say where they can't operate without the full amount, so therefore they don't even ask. So that was the original thought process. So I guess I would turn it back to you and say, do you consider that as being an equalizer or not?
No, absolutely. The amount is going to make a major difference. But at the same time, as you had mentioned, the biggest complaint was we requested only, there was a group that requested very small funds, even less than the 25,000 that we're looking at, but that they weren't even considered. And they felt that it wasn't fair, and once again, we go back to this, making it an equal playing ground, as to they felt that it wasn't fair that they weren't even considered, given that these organizations have already been funded in the past. So that was my only concern, but if the rest of the council feels that this is going forward, that this is fine, then by all means, then I'm okay with it.
Okay. Well, council, does anyone have any compromise to that, or anything that you wish it to stay the same or to change it? Anything? Anyone? Yes, Councilman Chapados.
I would like to see it as progressing from this point forward as an existing program that's been undergone some major revisions. So to me, I think there's going to be, because of the requirements and because of the scoring options, I think to give everybody a fair shot this time around. Ultimately, the decision is going to be up to us, but it's going to be vetted through a citizen-based committee. And, Mary Witkowski has done a tremendous job with the research and helping us compare statistics and looking at procedures. And I think we've taken a lot of the subjectivity out of this and made it much more objective. So I would say I wouldn't want to penalize somebody that they've been funded, because basically it was the councils that made these decisions of who got the money and how much. So I say moving forward, everybody's got an opportunity to apply, and we start from the 14-15 fiscal year.
Councilor Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I have no problem with leveling the playing field. I think it's a great idea. I do question the implication that the past decisions were predicated on political considerations. That was never the case with me. It was based solely, in fact, on the merit of the applications and the applicants. There are some, and Mary knows full well, that applied, fully didn't comply with the requirements, and that's why they were rejected, plain and simple. It had nothing to do with politics. So I wouldn't want to crowd anyone viewing this to think it was based on any political considerations. We had some great applicants, And those were funded, repeatedly funded for a purpose. They were good, and we felt there was a need.
Mayor?
And one of the discussions that we had was originally when this started, we had said that we did not want to see this to go on in perpetuity forever. And that these organizations were relying on those funds year after year. And given it, that we've given them, we've already funded certain organizations for 3 years. Let's just say the cycle starts again, coming this next time. Just take into consideration that we could be funding an organization for 6 years. And that's an awful long time when we had originally stated when we were funding this that we were not going to do this. And we weren't hoping that they weren't relying on these funds. And some organizations are relying on these funds. So just a thought.
Councilman Chapados, and then we'll go back to Vice Mayor and then to Councilman Potter.
Yeah, just as a point of clarification, I didn't mean to infer or imply that the decisions were based on politics. It was subjective. So I think there were previous councils that had issues or causes that they were passionate about. I don't think it was a political decision at all. I think that the decisions were made based on what was the need, what was the project, the amount requested. Some have been repeat funders, but I think we've also evolved in the process where now we're looking for greater accountability, we're trying to equal the playing field, and we're trying to help more organizations. We heard tonight several people speak on the needs of various groups in our own community, and I think this is going to help us do that.
Vice Mayor no longer has a question. Councilman Potter.
Mayor, I agree with Councilwoman Gussie that in reality the program has been in existence for a number of years. So the way I'm looking at it right now, there's a couple of options that council can take that consideration. Either those organizations that have been funded for 3 years, they go part of that 1 year off, or we adjust the point system using it where they get less points because they have qualified for funding in prior years. So whatever the council's pleasure. So I think either of those options I'm good with, taking into the fact that they have been funded.
Well, okay, and to that point then, because that was exactly one of the things that we went in. In the scoring system, we did weight that as one of the topics, correct, Mary? We weighted the fact of how many years they've applied, or that they received funding. And if I remember correctly in the discussion, as they approached year 2 and 3, they took a hit, right, from a point perspective. Is that correct? Am I correct in that thought process?
Mr. Mayor, it falls under the technical review, and I think there's a note on the section of the paperwork in the back that says the grants manager will discuss who's received funding in previous years. I didn't assign a negative point value if they had received funding, but I can certainly adjust the scoring criteria to allow for that, sir.
So then to that point, would that be an acceptable compromise to say, again, because that was the whole point in requiring the year off, was that we understand there are those that I think we all feel are very worthy causes, right? And that, certainly we hear from those constituents and we want to help them as best as possible, but all constituents are important to us, so how do we find that balance? And ultimately, it's trying to say, like you said, we're weaning them off where we don't want them to feel like this is the sustainable, they can come to us for here evermore in perpetuity, as you suggested. So if we were to play that and put that in there as I don't know how to say this other than a ding against, to work against you, and therefore take your score down a little bit, would that be an acceptable compromise in this moving forward? So again, to move someone towards self-sustenance versus coming back to us each and every year. Would that be acceptable to the council?
Are you talking about a progressive, like if it's a second-year applicant,
Correct.
minus
Right.
so many, third-year applicant, minus so many more type of thing?
Right, but the question ultimately is going to become how do we handle this first year then? I mean, it's easy to do that moving forward, but how do we handle this first year?
Well, I think if we have a negative points for multiple year applicants or repeat applicants, that automatically starts them out on a lower playing field.
Okay.
But I would rather see us do that than just automatically eliminate them from the possibility of applying.
Oh, I agree. So, Councilwoman Gussie, is that acceptable to take a kind of a negative point value stance there, even if they've applied in these previous 3 years and they've received that funding, that it would count against them moving?
And I think it's fair, and I think it would also even out the playing grounds even a little bit.
Okay. Is that possible, Mary, and how we've described it here today?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if I'm understanding this correctly, let me repeat it back. If we're going to do it through a progressive period, so if they've applied 1 year and been awarded, they get a certain point value reduced. Second year, they get more, and if they're in their third year, they get more points reduced.
Correct.
Do you have a point value assigned for each? 2, 4, and 6? 5, 10, 15?
Yes,
N-
Vice
now-
Mayor.
Now, on that, all the previous years don't take into account to anything, right? This is just moving forward. The first year, the point system regresses. The second year, the point system regresses. We're not talking about the previous 3 years at all.
Well, that's what Councilman Gussie was
No,
arguing.
But what Mary just said, she didn't mention the previous 3 years. She mentioned it would regress after year 1, and then after year 2, and 3, and so forth. Isn't that what you just said?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Farrell, yes, I did. However, I should have stated, because I was following with what you were going with. As a compromise, it would start to penalize those 3 agencies that have received 3 consecutive years of funding. And there is an agency that has received 2 consecutive years of funding.
I don't like that, and the reason I don't like that is because the perception there, to me, is what we're telling the public, is we're changing the rules of the game, and oh, by the way, we're gonna penalize some people other than the game because of some past money that they've gotten. And when you change the rules, I don't think you should penalize anybody. It's a new ball game. And it's even Plainfield, I've heard even Plainfield mentioned here 10 times already. When you change the rules, it's a new ball game. It's start all over. Now, if you want to do what Mary did, exactly what you said, I'm for that. But going previous, I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward. And I agree with Councilmember Kimball. I truly believe the 5 that got funding over $25,000, the majority of those won't even want the 25 grand next year because they're not going to be able to survive on just 25,000. So that's going to eliminate half of the people wanting this grant. Just my opinion.
Councilman Kimball.
I'd just like to echo what the Vice Mayor said, and I like Resolution 1331 as it was presented. I think it's a new ballgame, new set of rules, and so if you would accept the motion, I would say to approve it as it was presented.
Okay. I'll second that. And for clarification, as presented based on the progression that Mary just mentioned.
Right.
In a deduction of points over 3 years. So moving forward, we're in agreement with that?
As it was presented originally with no amendments.
So no reduction whatsoever?
No, so as it was presented, meaning they would get 3 years, they could get funded every year for 3 years, starting from scratch with not having point deductions, and they just get it for 3 years, then they can't apply anymore. They take a year off, just as it was presented originally.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's, yes, hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead, Councilman.
Talking about changing the rules of the game, I don't think we are, because it's based on it's based on every year, going through the budget process and the nonprofit applications. In any sport, rules change all the time, and you go, in a new season, you play by those rules accordingly. So going into a new season, I think even if we change the rules at this time, everyone's on that same playing field with those rules, and it's always council discretion, to apply those. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and going on that note, it's always council discretion to change the rules every year. So, I mean, we're starting this year with this. Next year, the council could change their mind. The year after that, the council can change their mind. And we are a very young city. 10 years, we're hitting our 10-year anniversary, and 3 out of those 10 years, we've had that program. So, I mean, realistically, I just see that if, let's just say that they do apply, you could potentially be awarding and changing the rules every year and awarding a group 6 years, if we start from scratch now. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, well, it seems as though we haven't completely come to a consensus, so we do have a motion on the floor for a potentially as written. Is there a second to that motion? So is there a second to the motion as written? So we have a second. So we have a first, Councilmember Kimball, and a second by Councilmember Chapados. Is there any further discussion on this topic at this time? Okay. With with that, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gussie?
No.
Councilmember Chapados?
Yes.
Councilmember Potter?
No.
Vice Mayor Farrell?
No.
Mayor Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you for the discussion. And moves on from item 10.3 to item 10.4. So the mayor and city council should discuss and possibly take action on appointing 23 members to the 2013-2014 Maricopa Youth Council. It says for discussion and action, Rocky.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Nice to be here this evening. Tonight I come to you because we have appointments for our 2013-2014 Maricopa Youth Council. Just a little history about the Youth Council. This was started with the help of championship by former council member Markeisha Griffin, former council member Carl Diedrich, and our current Vice Mayor Edward Farrell back in 2010. We're going to our 4th year. We're very excited about that. In 2010, we had 23 members for our inaugural group. The second year, we followed up with 20. Then last year, we had 42 members, which was a lot of kids, a lot of work. And what we did, we actually had them divided into subcommittees, and I bounced between both groups, and it was good. The kids did a lot of good activities, a lot of good things. Some of the things they accomplished is they helped our Parks, Rec, and Library Committee get us designated as a playful city. They did stakeholder meetings for the Copper Sky Regional Park and Multi-Generational Center. They helped do a skate park research study. They hosted numerous basketball, dodgeball tournaments, also a poetry slam and art contest. And then they've also attended the League of Arizona Cities and Towns Conference and the Governor's Youth Leadership Day. They've represented the city well at each one of those events. So as I said, for this year we have 23 qualified applicants, which is a nice manageable number. Moving forward, we're very excited. One of our returning members has actually been chosen to be a member of the Governor's Youth Commission. So that's Samantha Corrales, who's here tonight. And with that membership, she's going to help us bridge the gap to be have a more statewide focus and able to bring some stuff back to our community. And she's already working on a lot of activities and things to kind of lead us through this next year. And we just hope to build on our past success. So with that information, I recommend that we appoint all 23 applicants for the 2013-2014 Youth Council. Or let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Rocky. Are you going to be able to keep your sanity again?
Yes, I can do that.
Excellent.
Mr. Moore, yes,
That's what I like to hear.
I can handle that.
Well, we're really appreciative to everybody who wants to participate in this program. It's a wonderful program. And with that, I would accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much for your service.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, would be all right. I have quite a few of the members here tonight. Can they get up and
love to have
and just be recognized for all the work that they're getting themselves into?
Come on up. to item 10.5, the resolution of the mayor and city council adjusting the length of terms of the mayor and members of the council. Currently serving in office to comply with ARS 16204 as amended by the Arizona State Legislature in 2012. Vanessa.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Before you tonight, I'm here to present you all the election changes for this next election year, next 2014. Our first change, because of the consolidated election laws, they changed so that our elections are now held along with the state official elections. So what that means is that our next election is basically in 2014 in the fall as opposed to the spring as it currently is. The other change that the legislature allowed this year was to extend the terms for the mayor and council by as much as 18 months. So this resolution is asking for council to extend their current terms so that the election will be held in the fall of 2014. What does this mean? The first change, of course, is that the election for the primary is now going to be held in August or maybe early September, depending on when that date falls. The statute reads funky. Primary will be held on the 10th Tuesday before the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. So it could be late August, early September. Yeah, and the general election will be held in November of 2014. So here are the dates: August 26, 2014 for our primary, November 4, 2014 for our general. And so with that, do you have any questions on this first item? Go ahead. Yeah.
Previous slide. Primary will be held on the 10th Tuesday before the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. I'm confused, Vanessa.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Farrell, so am I, but the state calculates the dates for us, so we have no issues because everybody's now on the same ballot, same dates. So this year, August 26th, for the most part, it'll be at the end of August, but a few years ago, it was early September, so.
Do you know the definition of a 10th Tuesday?
No.
No?
I think they start counting after a certain date or something, yeah.
Is it the fiscal year? Yeah, that might be the fiscal year. No, that wouldn't be right either. That wouldn't be.
I can calculate that for you and.
Oh, okay, they're talking about the general, not the primary. Okay, I was thinking primary.
Oh, so it's going general counting backwards. Right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. So just for clarification, this is not us wanting to change our terms up here.
No.
This is the state legislature that
Right.
passed a law that said that cities were now going to have their elections at the same time. They can't have it in March and May anymore. And
Right.
you can't have it in odd years. It has to be a primary where everyone else has a primary, and then a general at the same time where everyone expects to go November 1st, whatever, Tuesday in November, and go and vote.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor,
Yes, Vice
I
Mayor.
move we approve agenda item 10.5.
Second. I have a motion and a second. It's a resolution, it's not an ordinance. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Okay, the next item is Resolution 1308. 1308 is changing the city code. Section 2-32 currently states that the vice mayor shall be appointed by the city council at the first election in June. And the same goes for the council. The council's seated at the first meeting in June.
Right.
So we're asking that this change to the council be seated at the first regular meeting in the month following the general election, which would be the first meeting in December.
Right. Okay.
So with that, do you have any questions?
So again, changing the city code, instead of making those decisions in June, we make them and be seated in December. Okay? Any questions? We have a motion to approve.
Well, I have a question.
Okay, we have a motion second, but let's go to questions here, discussion.
Is that pretty standard around the state with municipalities to be sworn in December? Because I know, like, county and
it's
state,
split.
and state, county, and federal elections are sworn in after the first of the year.
I think it's pretty split. From the county, the cities that I surveyed, it was about half and half. It just depended on the meetings that they have in January. Historically, the city of Maricopa has canceled all of their first meetings in January. So if you wait until mid-January after the election in August, you're looking at almost 5 months before you're seated.
If you win in a primary.
Right.
Right, if you're elected at the primary. If you're elected at the general, then it was, let me see, 2.5 months. As opposed to the current right now, it's 2.5 months if you're elected at the primary, 2 weeks if you're elected at the general.
And if we're sworn in the first week of December, we're having our sworn-in ceremonies right in the middle of the holiday season.
That's correct.
Vice Mayor, you know, it's funny, Vanessa and I talked a lot about this, you know, and it's funny, as I've been listening to other cities around the valley, I think that they're in as much confusion as anybody, but one of the things that I came to the realization of on my side was that there are a lot of places, and probably give you some bad examples here, but you know, like the GPECs of the world, or the CAGs of the world, or you know, these different agencies that we belong to. A lot of them do membership assignment in the 1st of January, and so if we don't get sworn in until the 17th, 18th, 20th of January, then we've missed our potential of a new council or somebody that's been reelected to potentially be sworn into that, theoretically. And so that was kind of my, you know, what I looked at and said, I agree, it's right in the middle of holidays, but I'm not sure it's also right to wait 5 months to take a seat either. So.
And I don't think we've canceled every meeting in the last 10 years, the first week of January, have we? I think it's just been like, if it's like the 1st or 2nd, and then we don't have it if it's on the 1st or the 2nd.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Farrow, I think we've canceled every meeting after 2005 or 2006, yes.
Okay.
And I think that's due because everybody takes vacation around that time. They don't have a lot of items to put on the first meeting in January.
Which doesn't necessarily mean we have to cancel them moving forward.
No, that does not.
We do have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion on this item? Yes, Vanessa?
I need a roll call.
Yes, we do. With that, can we move to a roll call, please?
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Potter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Farrow?
No.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapados?
Yes.
Mayor Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Item 10.7, another ordinance, Mayor and City Council, amending Section 2-54 of the City Code.
This next agenda item is ordinance 13-09. This item is, let me see, I'm confused because I have so many tonight.
Change the basis of calculation of majority of votes.
Yes, thank you. And that's because of the voters that are going to be coming out to the polls, they might not be voting on the city items on the ballot because we're going to be towards the end. Well, school issues will be last on the ballot. Will be second to the last. So if somebody comes in and they just vote for, let's say, president and leave, then your numbers are going to be greater for the calculation. Right. So we're going off of the numbers for the mayor. Right. So that's what this request is for.
Okay. Any
so
questions?
Here's,
Sorry. Go ahead.
Here's the current language in the code, which basically at the end states, for the purposes of this section, a vote cast is the same as a ballot cast. This is a new section that we're requesting. In calculating the votes cast for the purposes of this section, the basis shall be the number of the votes cast for the office of mayor.
Any further questions? Yes, Councilman Chavez.
Vanessa, question. Historically, have we had fewer votes cast for mayor than we have for council members?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Chapados, there's a difference, and I think it is lower for the mayor, but it's not by much. The majority of the people, they just vote for whoever they need to come in and vote for. If they just want to vote for one person that night, then they just vote for one person. If they don't feel like they don't want to vote for mayor, then they don't vote for mayor. So the number does differ, but I'm not sure if for council it's lower than the mayor's.
Vice Mayor.
Move to approve 10.7.
Have a motion to approve. Oh, we have another question. I'll second it. So go ahead and move to the question. Go ahead.
So the way this stands right now, it's, so if like, let's say the mayor gets whatever, 2,000 votes and a council member gets 1,000, they would win in the primary, you're saying?
No, this is just calculating the majority, the win, the majority of votes cast for your office. If you get 1,000 and the majority is 50 plus 1 and you get
So
the
it's per
majority.
office, is what you're
yes,
saying. Okay.
yes, it's per
Good to go.
office, sorry.
Good with that. Okay.
She only said mayor, so.
That's what the calculation is going off of though, is for mayor.
Right. Because that also plays into signatures, right? when you
Not,
roll back around?
not this section.
Oh, okay, okay, gotcha. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion on the item? All in favor, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapados?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown? Vice Mayor Farrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Potter?
Yes.
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Mayor Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, okay, thank you very much. Item 10.8, ordinance of the mayor and city council specifying the number of signatures required on nomination petitions for the office of mayor and council.
And this is then where we're calculating the number of signatures. So because of the, like I said earlier, the increase in the number of signatures required on a nomination petition might be huge because it's going to be based off total ballots cast for election, or let's,
For state
sorry.
office or president.
Right, if presidential especially, that's the one that makes a bigger difference. We're gonna go off of, we want to make sure that the council has a limit on how many signatures they need to get. So the numbers will be based off of the mayor's signatures at the previous election, but we're putting a cap for the total number of signatures required. So the state law currently states that you need 5%, but no more than 10%. And that's current, and that's what this ordinance is gonna say, but it's gonna put a cap for 1,000 signatures now. Just in case in the future we grow, the numbers are huge, you don't need more than 1,000 signatures.
Only needs 1,000 signatures. Mayor, I move to approve
Yes.
10.8.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Potter?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gussie?
Yes.
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Farrell?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapados? Mayor Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great.
And that's
And
it for
then
me tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. And then item 10.9, ordinance of the city of Maricopa, Arizona, specifying the term of office of the mayor, providing for the submission and requestion of the term of office to the mayor to the voters at the next general election.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this presentation was requested by two members of council, Councilmember Chapados and Councilmember Kimball, and we put
Is
this.
this presentation 2 years old?
No.
3.
All right. And so, and this is a discussion about the history of the terms of mayor, and then there's possible action at the end. But let me work through the presentation, and we'll talk about the action at the end. If we have you. So, 2004 to 2010 background. In March 2004, there was a ballot question put to the voters, creating 4-year terms for council members, and this was passed. There was no specific standalone mayor position in Maricopa. That was in March 2004. In May 2004, there was a ballot question put on the agenda, creating a separate mayor position. All right, now, for whatever reason, historically people have told me that the thought was we want to decide to have a standalone mayor, and then we want to decide if it's 2 or 4 year term. Prior to this May 2004 vote, the mayor, being a member of council, had a 4-year term. But the vote was not split, or the question was not split. So the question that people had to vote yes or no on in May of 2004, shall the mayor of the city of Maricopa be directly elected, which is the first question, and then the second question, for a 2-year term of office by the qualified electorate rather than by selection of the common city of the council of the city of Maricopa. So you have this merging of these two questions, and then you can read into what the voters' intent was, but that's how we got to the place where we are, where we have 6 council members who run for 4-year terms, and then a standalone mayor with a 2-year term, being out of sync in that respect. This was on the ballot in 2010, again, for a vote, and my recollection is fuzzy, but I've heard it failed by between 10 and 18 votes at that point, and so that's the history on the terms of the mayor. The question from the council members, can the length of the term of the mayor be changed by council action only? And so Legal researched this, and based on their findings, because Maricopa is a general law city, the state is silent on the mayor's term of office, but the state does require a public vote to alter the term of a council member. Since the mayor is also a council member, legal department believes that a council vote to change the term of the mayor would likely be interpreted in violation of state law and put us in danger. So council's, the attorney's recommendation is that's probably not a good idea. Impact to be considered. In discussing this, in going through this question, there are lots of things out there. I wanted to just give you some bullet points on the issues at hand. The issue of consistency, whether 2 or 4 years, there is a thought out there that the term should be the same for all council members, whether the mayor or the council, either all 2 or all 4. There's value in that. The term length versus the position learning curve. With the responsibility of the mayor, there is some would say a steeper learning curve, yet that's a shorter position. And if you have a constant changeover, you're going to have a learning curve issue. That's one of the considerations that's out there. Continuity and leadership with regional organizations, and if you have that changeover, it can take some time to have the mayor build the position in these organizations. And with a 2-year term that puts that, it's something to be considered. The realities of campaign mode. When you're in 2-year cycle, you're thinking about campaigns every 2 years. And the ability to recruit quality candidates, because it does require that 2-year election cycle. So those are some of the impacts put forward to council to take into consideration possibly. Now, we always want to go back and see what other cities are doing on this. And I put some stats together based on some numbers that the clerk's office had collected. The city of Maricopa is the 19th largest municipality with our, based on 2010 census, with 43,482 people. We are the 49th of the 49 of the 91 Arizona cities and towns, that's 54%, have mayors with 4-year terms. So the majority, a small majority, have 4-year terms. But if you look at the size on this, only 2 cities larger than Maricopa have a 2-year term for the mayor. That's Casa Grande with population 48,000, Flagstaff population of 65,000. All the other cities, the other 17 cities larger than us, have 4-year terms. So there's definitely a trend that when you get to be a bigger city, the trend is to voters to choose a 4-year term mayor. The average population of the 39 remaining cities and towns with 2-year terms is 12,000. Okay, so the majority of those, if you take the average 2-year term, they tend to be smaller cities. Those are just numbers I put together crunching some data, trying to make it as useful as possible. The process to modify. Prior to the election, the council would be required to approve an ordinance calling for the question to be placed on the ballot. And we actually have presented a ballot proposition or question here that ordinance the council can vote to if they choose to tonight. But that needs to happen before the election. This ballot question would go on the fall of 2014 election. That'd be November of 2014. The question would appear on the ballot for voters' consideration. But the mayor or the candidate for mayor that year would have to run for a 2-year term only. The question will be on the ballot, but the term has not changed until it's been approved by the voters. It would not be until fall of 2016 that if it is passed, that the 4-year term would go into effect. So the action, the soonest it would take place in fall of 2016, that year, whoever runs for mayor would run for a 4-year seat. Conclusion. Remember, we are not asking the question is not whether you think a 2-year term or a 4-year term is good or bad. The question is this something that council would like to see the voters be asked the question and get their input and have them respond to that? Do you want to put this question to the ballot for the voters to decide?
Questions, council?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Potter.
First of all, is there any added cost if council decides to put it on the ballot?
If we put it on a regular election, I'll defer to the clerk, because she's grabbing the mic.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Potter, the only additional cost would be the publicity pamphlet, because we would have to produce a publicity pamphlet that goes out to every home,
And do you have an estimate?
every registered voter.
Do you have an estimate of what that cost might be?
No, I think it was about 12,000 the last election when this went to the voters. But I'd have to double check the numbers.
Thank you. And I remember seeing a list of cities that actually, other than Flagstaff and Casa Grande, that had 2- and 4-year terms. Do you have that on the slide? Yeah,
I don't have it on the slide, but somehow it failed to get posted. I don't know what happened.
Mayor, where I was going to go with that, what I remember seeing was, and just verifying real quick, with the list that some of the cities in Maricopa County, our neighbors, Chandler, Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, so those, of course, are larger cities, as Paul was saying, all have 4-year terms. And I think, and knowing now more about what GPEC and MAG and the effects of having a longer term mayor, how important that is to the city, representing the city in these positions and pushing forward leadership and economic development and notoriety to the city, which we need and would help, especially when we're competing with our neighbors and working with them, collaborating in Maricopa County. I'll admit, I was probably one of the 10 that voted against the general public. But knowing more about how important that is and seeing, and also the fairness in my mind of having equal term limit as a council member, I would support putting it to the voters, even with the cost. I think we can make it up as a city in other areas, economic development, exposure, so forth, many times over. So I'd support putting it to the ballot for voter approval.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Gussie?
I received a call from this couple. Their concerns is this: how many times do we have to go to the voters for something that they've already approved? So in May 2010, the public vote to alter the term of mayor has already gone. And their concern was more of what the school district is doing. How many times are they going to put something on the ballot, and how many times are they going to be told no until they finally stop? And their concern is, are we going to put this on the ballot every time we go out so that until it passes? And that's the way the majority of the council feels. So my proposal would be not to put it on the ballot for that sole reason, that this was already put on the ballot in May 2010. How many times do we have to go out to the people to vote for the same thing? This time, it didn't pass by 10 to 12 votes. I seem to recall that the override didn't pass by the same amount. The second time I went out to vote, it didn't pass by a larger majority. And now I say this because I actually met with a mayor from, although it's a charter city, I actually met with the mayor and I asked, what their reasoning was for having a 2-year term instead of a 4-year term. And the mayor said that he sat on the committee for the decision-making with 2 other previous mayors. So it was total of 3 mayors that have all been seated for 2 years. And some of them had been seated for about 8 years. Anyways, his point was, what if you get that one mayor that the city is not set? And this is I do believe in what you said. I do believe the fact that you do sit on GPEC right now, how important that is for us as a growing city. But at the same time, what if we do get a mayor in the seat that the majority of the city is not satisfied with? And I know we could go out to recall, and that's an option. But at the same time, 4 years is an awful long time for an awful long damage from a mayor. And once again, this is not to reflect you, nothing personal. For a mayor that could do a large amount of damage, given that a 2-year term is a lot shorter and it doesn't happen as much time.
Let's rebut here, then go to Vice Mayor Farrell and over to Councilmember Campbell.
I echo Councilwoman Gussie's comments, and I couldn't agree with her more. When this was on the ballot in 2010, I actually supported it. And then when it lost, I got feedback from citizens on people that did not support it. And the feedback, when I listened to the feedback, it made sense. The leader of your community is all about accountability. And his accountability should be checked every 2 years. It shouldn't be checked every 4 years. Now, when you talk about it would bring consistency, sure, it'll bring consistency, but let's talk about the truth. Whether our mayor term is 2 years or 4 years, we're gonna continue to have city council elections every 2 years. So it's not gonna make a difference as far as the election goes. It's not gonna change the election cycle, but ever since those citizens out there told me that the leader of the community, just like Councilwoman Gussie said, it's all about accountability, and their accountability should be checked every 2 years. That made sense to me, and that's why I'm not going to support this.
Mayor, you know, and I said it as a citizen in the ballot, I voted no, and one of the reasons was I like the idea that the majority of council could be up for, if the voters wanted, to change the direction, vote a new majority of council, with the mayor being elected every 2 years. And there's nothing wrong with that, and just go to the ballot for the voters to see if they want to keep the term as is or vote for the change. But on a bigger scale, the bigger scheme of things, and how important it is where we are as a city and taking that next step and competing with our neighbors and collaborating with them on these committees, the GPEC, MAG, I'm convinced that it's, you know, to be able to do that and hold that stability. And I know there's that risk of the mayor not necessarily being popular at the time and maybe getting elected or not reelected in that term. And I thought about that, which was the reason why I voted no before. But again, knowing more, you know, I think since the voters always have that recall possibility, if the mayor is doing, not you, if the mayor is not doing his job in a manner that satisfies voters, there is that, and it does come with expense, but there is that always that option of a recall.
Councilmember Campbell, then Vice Mayor Farrell.
Paul, can you go back a few slides to the impact slide? So these items that are listed here are items that I considered when Councilmember Chapados and I talked about bringing this to a council meeting to get put onto the ballot as a question. The learning curve for a council member is in my perspective, it takes a little bit to fall into the seat and be able to do your job. For the mayor, from what I know that you do, or any mayor would do, I would imagine, it's a lot of work, and the learning curve is rather tough. And after 1 year in office, for a 2-year term, you're running for office again. Takes away from your job as the mayor. It takes away from your time. It's twice as expensive to be a mayor in a city running for office. We all know how expensive campaigns are. It shouldn't be twice as expensive to be the mayor, especially when, well, most mayors are more hardworking. I hate to just step on a limb and say that, but more hardworking than the council members, but it's a full-time job. That's how I see it. Us council members up here work really hard. I see what Christian goes through, and he works really, really hard. GPEC and all these relationships that you've made that the mayor should go out and make with our neighbors. It takes a long time to set those relationships and then have to immediately start campaigning 1 year after being elected it shouldn't be that way. So that's why I support a 4-year, or at least putting the question out and leaving it up to the voters to determine whether or not they want a 4-year mayor or not.
Vice Mayor Farrell, and then Councilman Gussie.
And I think the track record speaks for itself too, as far as mayor goes. We're 10 years old. We've had 4 mayors, and no mayor has served over 2 terms. There's something to be said with that, and I think when the public sees that and sees the perception of that, that's going to mean something to them. And you know, if we've had one mayor that served 3 or 4 terms in the last 10 years, you know, I can say, well, maybe, you know, we do go for a term, but you know, nobody's ever served more than 2 2-year terms in 10 years of this city. There's a track record there.
And that's perfect that you said that. This mayor that I spoke to, in the 50-year history, they've only had 4 mayors. So this mayor that I spoke to that has 2-year it's a charter city. I'm going to say it, it's the mayor from Casa Grande. They've only had 4 mayors. So that goes to prove that, as you said, the consistency. And I understand, and in speaking with him on this topic, he fully understands too. And like I said, there was 2 mayors and himself on that committee deciding on the terms of mayor, and they all felt that 2 years was sufficient. But yet it goes to prove on their track record, 4 mayors in 50 years. That speaks volumes. And I understand that the decision is not ours to make here. It's a decision whether we want to go out to the public and have them vote on it. And let me remind you all, how many times do the voters have to speak on something when they are heard? They've already spoke on it in May 2010. How many times do they have to vote on something before they're heard?
Councilman Chapados, and over to Councilmember Kimball.
Thank you, fellow council members, for your insight. As Councilmember Kimball said, I was one of the 2 that asked for this agenda item to be brought forward. And one of the things I've heard consistently is accountability. But I think that's a two-way street in the city of Maricopa. And we've got a lot of very active, politically oriented organizations here. And the voter turnout in Maricopa could stand improvement. We need more people to get out and vote. You have your voice, you need to use that voice. I also think that a danger is confusing the position with the person. We're talking about a position here. For the advantages that a 4-year mayor term would give us, I mean, if you look at 49 of the 91 cities that are the big city players that we're purporting ourselves to be, I think we've turned that corner, and I think it's time for us to give the person that, number 1, we help recruit to be our mayor candidate, and number 2, we help to elect to be our mayor. That responsibility rests with every citizen in this town. We've had so many new people come here, and one of the first questions we all get asked is, what can I do here to get involved? You can register to vote, and when you get that ballot, or you can request that early ballot, you can vote at your kitchen table. But your voice means something here, and the statistics, I think that speaks volumes, that 10 or 12 votes can make the difference between something succeeding and something failing. I think it's also contingent upon us as elected representatives. We speak for 45,000 voices. We need to help educate our voting public as to the advantages of whatever issue is on our ballots, what it's going to mean to our quality of life in the city, and what it's going to mean to take this city to the next step. Economic growth, for sure, but quality of life is something we all preach in our strategic plans, in every department budget meeting that we have, to our committee members. We say to our citizens, get involved, participate. One of those critical areas of participation is voting and having elected representatives that you trust, that you feel are going to act in your best interest, and we got to recruit capable people. So I would also be very much in support of having the voters speak to it. And I don't think it's an issue of how many times. I think it's an issue of, do you understand what you're voting for? I can remember standing at a polling place a couple years back when the 1% sales tax issue was on the ballot. And as people were coming up with, thank you for voting, don't forget to vote for so-and-so for mayor. There's a mayoral council election today? They didn't even know. And that is crucial here to our city, very crucial. More people elected my first HOA board of directors than elected this first city council back in 2006.
Let's go to Councilman Kimball first, and then over to Councilman Getz.
I just wanted to comment on the whole putting something on the ballot numerous times. I think there's a difference between an override, which is money out of people's pockets, and a mayoral term that I think personally would benefit the city as a whole. I know I ran for office twice, and I didn't have a bunch of people coming to me going, "Why are you on the ballot again?" I ended up getting elected. It's I guess voter turnouts is a big thing, like Councilmember Chapados had said, and 2010 was just that. It was, people didn't even know there was a council election because of the 1% sales tax. They look at the ballot, they come out in droves for one particular thing that they heard they need to vote against or they need to vote for. So I don't think we're going to get, I wouldn't imagine we would get a bunch of negative feedback from putting something on a ballot for a second time. So again, that's why I support it.
You had said something important. You said that don't confuse the person with the position. Now, you had asked what it was going to cost to put it on the ballot. What would a recall cost?
Depends on where we place that item on the ballot. If we place it on a special election ballot, at least $30,000.
$30,000 for a special ballot in the case that a 4-year term mayor would get recalled. Yet, we're talking 12,000. I'm just giving you numbers here. It's just,
Right,
just for,
right.
put it in perspective.
Right, no, and I understand, I understand where you're going with that, but I think all of us, the rest of us on council, a 4-year terms can get recalled at any time as well. So I don't think the public is being, treated differently for the mayor being able to recall if that's the will of the public after an election. They have 4 years to do it if they approve it this time, going forward in 2 years.
Oh, no, I don't agree with that at all. A mayor is a position, the mayor represents the city as a whole on many meetings, and a mayor sitting on 4 years would be completely different than one of us, one of the council members, just because in the sense that they are representing us on a daily basis out there in the public's eye. We could represent just as equally as he can to every meeting, but we're not, and realistically, we're not. And it just makes, once again, I'm fighting for the 2-year instead of the 4-year.
No, and I agree with it. And you said something about the public eye, and I agree wholeheartedly. The mayor, by the position, and the title of mayor is very important to the public. I do agree the mayor, is the face of the city and should be out like ribbon cuttings and policy and speaking and engaging, right? But there's also a lot of things that the mayor does that isn't in the public eye that is very important, that I believe a 4-year term will help the city, that much of the public isn't aware of it because it's stuff that happens day to day, or that doesn't happen on the forefront, isn't newsworthy necessarily, but it's still important to our city as far as economic development, reaching out to new businesses, different items like that, which the public doesn't see, but does want to see the results of having jobs, for example, in our city. So even though the public may say, may believe that, the mayor may do certain things and that's important, but there's a lot of things that the mayor does do by the position as well that the public does not see that is important. They can go a long way with a 4-year term for a city.
And last comment, sorry. The mayor of Casa Grande had mentioned to me that if the mayor is he has ran unopposed on 2 previous elections because the city has entrusted him with that city. We're talking about a completely different city here, the city of Maricopa, and the voters will decide. But at the same time, because he has earned, or he or anybody else who sits on a 2-year term, because they have earned it, they will more than likely, as he said, be safe in that position to run again and not have to be campaigning, as he had mentioned, every 2 years.
Councilman Chapados, and then over to Councilman Kimball.
I think we can actually use that same argument in the reverse. What happens if we do get a good mayor? I would feel very, very confident that in 4 years he's going to be in that seat. He can do some amazing things. And again, the mayor is the face of the city, but the mayor is one of 7. So ultimately, the decision rests with the body of council. The mayor can do a lot of innovative things, and the mayor is the person that reaches out and becomes representative for various organizations and committees. I just don't think that, and again, with our mayor's history, every mayor that we've had that's been elected has run a 2nd term and has gotten elected. But I don't think unless you add to that equation, what were the other candidate pools like? We're a brand new city, we've only had 3 mayoral elections. I think you have to take that into account as well. And I know I will work hard to convince the public to see the benefits of a 4-year mayor term. I would hate to discourage somebody sitting out there tonight thinking, geez, I'd like to run for mayor, but I couldn't afford to do it every 2 years, because I've heard of the amount of time and effort that it takes, how hard it is to be a council member. It takes a lot of work. It's a lot, and exactly what Councilmember Potter said, a lot of what happens the public doesn't see. And that's a good thing, because when we come together as a body and an agenda item is presented to us and we can come to a consensus, knowing that we have the best information, staff research, and the support of our constituents, I think that speaks volumes as well.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Just a quick comment on that, council member. If somebody's considered running for mayor and they don't want to run because it's a 2-year term and they don't want to have to take the time to campaign, because it's too time consuming. They probably shouldn't even consider running for mayor, period, because the mayor position is a very consuming job, whether it's a 2-year term or a 4-year term. They're gonna be putting lots of time in, and if they're worried about campaigning, the mayor campaigns all the time. This guy's campaigning every single day, and it's part of his job. He's out there in front of the street. He represents our city. He's the face of our community. So if they're worried about campaigning every 2 years, they don't need to be considering running for mayor, in my opinion.
Well, that's obviously too part of our election history. I mean, look at some of the candidate pools that we've had. No offense to anybody that may be listening, but we've had people step up just because. The interest wasn't really in the elements of the campaign and being leader in our city. It was more of, well, there can't just be one candidate on the ballot. You know, we're still a new city. We're still going through growth pains. We've seen a tremendous turnover in our population, and part of that new buy-in to being a citizen in Maricopa is knowing what it says on every piece of literature that we produce: proud history, prosperous future. We're not going to get to that prosperous future until we engage our citizens more and until they buy into the fact that one of their primary obligations is to vote, whether it's here, at the state level, or of the federal.
Councilmember Kimball and then Councilmember Brown.
I think we've all, well, the majority of us have given our opinions on this, obviously, not you, Mr. Mayor. But I think that my opinion, outside of why I think a 4-year term is good, is that it should be left up to the voters to determine, and that's why Councilmember Chapados and I brought this up, to give it back to the voters and see if that's what they want, because obviously a few of us up here think that it's a good idea. So I'd say we leave it up to them. If you would entertain a motion, I would make one.
Let's move to Councilmember Kimball first, or excuse me, to Councilmember Brown, and start.
Don't call me Councilman King.
I sincerely
What is that?
Do not do that.
How nice of you.
Actually, it makes an excellent point. The issue is whether we want to vote to put it on the ballot. Plain and simple. Now, Craig, you keep getting back to the point that a 4-year mayor is going to make such a great difference that the electorate all of a sudden is going to be energized, become engaged. That's not going to happen. We recognize the voters of the city are woefully unengaged, and they probably will remain so. So whether or not it's a 2-year term, a 4-year term, whomever it might be, that's not going to create the excitement that they need. I don't know what it's going to take. We all campaign. What Ed was saying, he's campaigning all the time. These proclamations are part of the campaign. You know that. Now, what he has done is he's become very engaged very quickly, and he's become very aware of the tools that he needs to become a good mayor. He's done an excellent job of that. These organizational participations, you could do that automatically by being mayor. Tony became active in these organizations right away, as did Kelly. That's part of being mayor. They're not going to reject you. GPEC's going to come to us and right away offer something, whether it's an ambassadorship or something similar. So the issue boils down to whether or not we will vote to put a 4-year term on the ballot for the voters to decide. Now, what they decide, we don't determine that. What he's done past 2 years and what he'll do in 14 if he chooses running in 14, determine that.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve 13-11 to send it to the voters.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to send it to the voters, a motion and a second. What's that? Is there any further discussion on the item? I think that I will offer some, if you don't mind. I'm immediately biased by the fact that I opened my mouth here, unfortunately, so I sincerely apologize. But, you know, I was asked this question before I ever ran, you know, and I was one of those people that actually voted for it and supported it. And I just want to offer my 2 cents. Councilmember Brown, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. But, you know, this is about the position. It's not a referendum on the mayor, it's not a referendum on the person. I too have had lots of conversations with the mayor of Casa Grande on this issue as a charter city. This is a city-by-city initiative, and it has to be decided as such. When I look back at that measure, that ballot measure that went before us, I try and put myself, that was right before I moved here, and I try and put myself in that position. How would I have voted? I would have wanted the mayor to have been elected at large, which is what I was voting for. But by doing, I was also handicapping that person because I was taking him from a 4-year term that was originally established in the code of this city and making him a 2-year term. But those questions weren't delineated. They were together. They were lumped together. And so that's what we've dealt with. I do find it interesting, though, that in my efforts to move the city forward, as the face of the city has been discussed here today, in the league or MAG or GPEC or whomever it is, it very much is you're absolutely right, Councilman Brown. They're going to come to us regardless, and they're going to allow us to participate, especially like GPEC, because we're paying them money to do so. They're always going to allow us to participate. However, the flip side to that is to what level do we get the respect as a community to participate even further? And that's important with the League Executive Committee, it's important with MAG, it's important with NLC. When you look at the mayor of Avondale, she hasn't been a mayor for just 2 years. She has 2 4-year terms. She's been mayor of 8 years. And it's that longevity that is portrayed, that the trust is built. And so to do this on a very quick basis, it's been a really good thing for the city of Maricopa. However, the fear is I talk to many mayors, both those that have 2-year terms and those that have 4-year terms. It's very interesting to me that I have not had a chance to go to every 2-year person on this map here, but I will tell you that over half of them have said that they wish they were 4-year terms. And I'm not just talking to the mayors, I'm talking to their council members. They understand the benefit that comes with the longevity. When we look and we talk about playing with the big boys out there, and we're the 19th largest city in this state, and yet we are looking backwards, it's time to start looking forwards. And when we start talking about this 4-year term, again, it's not a referendum on me, it's not a referendum on Tony, on Edward, on Kelly. This is a referendum on the position of mayor moving forward and establishing these relationships that are so crucial as we move to accomplishing things years down the road. And so, again, I look back to that original ballot measure and I say that was an impossible task. It was an impossible task because I would have wanted it to be voted on for, to be elected at large. I would have wanted a direct say in who my mayor was. However, by doing so, I had to put that person at a disadvantage, therefore the city at a disadvantage, in my opinion. So again, my support has always been that I think that this city, in order to move it forward that much further, farther, faster, I do recognize and understand the counter arguments here. I've tried to take those into consideration heavily. I've thought about them a lot. I mean, I talked to Bob Jackson about this almost a year ago and listened to his examples and his thoughts. And you're right. They have a realization of the fact that they had a long-time mayor there that was there for some 40 years. And good or bad, that's just what they accepted, and they've never changed it. But when I talk to so many of these mayors coming out of these meetings, GPEC or the league, and it's funny, we've been endowed with the ability to be the chair of the ambassador program. That is so crucial for the city of Maricopa. I mean, the mayor of Goodyear can tell you how many businesses relocated there because she was the chair. And so that's a wonderful opportunity. But I fear that if we should ever, moving forward, not looking backwards, but moving forward, if we should ever become a city that, let's say, 3 times in a row we elect a one-year mayor, a one-term mayor, and then another one-term mayor, and another one-term mayor, well, when we go to these leagues and these MAGs and GPECs and NLCs, and we are asking for that recognition and that trust, I guarantee you they will not trust us. They will say, you know what, it's not worth it. It's too much turnover there in Maricopa. We don't want to have that. And that's what I fear moving forward, is that we've built so much, 10 years, we've done an amazing amount of things, but the fear is that what are we going to lose by keeping it this way? Now, ultimately, life will go on if it doesn't happen, and we'll just make it work. But I will tell you that it's been funny to have a lot of these cities come out and say, you have to change that. You need to change that. We had the same problem. and we changed it. We took it back to the voters, and we asked the question again. So my opinion is, and always has been, that I think we need to separate this out. We need to help do our best to say, this is not a referendum on any mayor. It's a referendum on the position, and what does it gain us over time in a representative fashion. And so there is a motion on the floor to send it to the ballot, and with that, I'll close my remarks and call the question. So with that, can I have a roll call, please, on this ordinance?
Councilmember Potter?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gussie?
No.
Councilmember Kimball?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Farrell?
I'm against this, only because of the accountability part, but it's not about me. So I'm for taking it to the people and the people to decide. So yes.
Councilmember Chapados? Yes. Mayor Price?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Well, with that, I don't believe we have any additional executive session items, so I would accept a motion to close this meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for attending.